Hello and welcome to the Ultra Running Podcast with me, Coach Marshy, Fat Man to Iron Man. It's great to have you on the show here today, guys. Welcome to this week's episode. I hope you're well. My rehab has continued positively. I'm not out of the woods by any stretch, but in fact, I'd love to be in the woods running, but I'm not out of the woods yet with the injury. So it's a case of just carrying on and doing the right things. What about you and your journey? How are you getting on? Let me know. Get in contact. It's been great to hear from even more of you in the last sort of 7 days. So please get in contact. I love hearing about your running journeys and what you do and how you succeed with your own goals, whatever level that is at. So part 2. I'm going to head straight back over to the interview with Ben. So a Guinness World Record as a marathoner?
Yeah, ran 2017 London Marathon carrying a 25 kilo tumble dryer on my back and got the Guinness record, the fastest marathon carrying a household appliance.
See, it's a small world because we ran next to each other but didn't know it.
What, in 2017?
In 2017, yeah. Oh, wow. Because obviously that made the press, right?
Yeah.
So I saw that. Anyone who did the event would have seen it. People all over the world saw it, even if they weren't runners. And I saw that, and I remember it at the time, and I remember clocking you as we were running. And
you wouldn't have missed me, that's for sure. Just tumble dryer.
I mean that is phenomenal, Ben.
Tumble dryer I could find. It was huge.
Did it still have the weight in it?
So I had to weigh 25 kilos.
Right, okay.
It's a strip down. So basically what I'd done is I got a tumble dryer, I stripped all the insides out. I reinforced it with some roll bars from corner to corner, because otherwise it's going to collapse. And then I had to put some plates in there, some weight plates, to get it 25 kilos. I also had a bladder inside, a hydration bladder inside, with a hose coming out, because I knew that when I was running, what I couldn't do is move. I could run in a straight line. If someone stopped in front of me, I can't stop, and I can't go around them, because I'd have to sort of try and maneuver myself. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to run. It's hard enough trying to get a drink at the marathon sometimes anyway. It's a bit of a scramble. So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get to the drink station. So I had this hose in the back, which was just there, and but unfortunately that added another 2. When that was full, that added another 2 kilos. So, but yeah, it was it's almost a bit of a joke thing really, but it was certainly no joke when I done it. It was a grueling day, and that thing got so heavy in the last 10 miles. I thought I had to get under 6 hours, and I thought at one point I'm not going to do it. I just couldn't get any speed. Even shuffling, walking was painful. But I managed to get myself back from about 22 onwards really, and put in a bit of a sprint finish. I think I had a couple of 14-minute miles towards the end, and I just got it 5 hours 58.
Wow. Awesome. That's awesome. I can't even contemplate that, to be fair. Like I've done London a few times, and like you said, it's a bit of a battle to get a drink sometimes, let alone trying to negotiate to people with a household appliance on your back as well.
I'll be coming through the crowds, and if there's someone walking in front of me, I'm going, excuse me, coming through. And they're looking around as if to say, what's your... Oh, okay, yeah, well, I'm going to move for you. And if it had been me running, they probably wouldn't have moved. But because they've looked around and this tumble dryer was... Can't see my hands, but the tumble dryer was out here on my back. It was an absolutely huge thing. And if I happen to look that way, tumble dryer's going that way. So I just trying to keep as still as I possibly can. And towards the end, I was just crouched right over with it, trying to take the weight off my shoulders and keep it on my back. But yeah, it was difficult, man. It was a tough day.
That's do you know what, your story, your journey and your running life sounds absolutely brilliant. So long may it continue. So within that, what would you say is your major high in your running sort of career so far? What's the biggest high?
Look, it's a good question. The day I ran my fastest marathon, 2015, that day was a day that you sort of read about and you hear about, where everything feels effortless, and you get the perfect day and the perfect storm sort of thing. And it felt like that for me. I ran 2:48. Although when I finished, I was just slightly disappointed. I thought I could have got 2:45. But anyway, you're never happy, But it just felt so effortless that day. And I dreamt of being a sub-3 marathoner for years and worked hard and worked till I finally got a sub-3. And then I maintained sub-3 for about 7 or 8 years. I'd keep my place at London because I'd get a sub-3. And, my times were sort of slowing down a bit and it was getting harder and harder. And then I slightly changed my style of training. And funnily enough, it's when I started doing CrossFit. I started doing a little bit less running and a lot more weightlifting. And then, I had that sort of perfect day when I ran 2:48 and felt great for it. That was that's a definitely one of my sort of top 5 running moments. I've done
that was on the back of. So that, you say that was on the back of maybe changing your training and doing a little bit more kind of functional training and CrossFit stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And lifting weights. The only weights I'd ever done up until I started CrossFit was sort of what you sort of call bodybuilding weightlifting, where, like bicep curls and stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm doing Olympic weightlifting, and I still do it now. I still do it. I've got a little gym myself where it's a boxing gym where I coach people 1-to-1. Well, or I did when it was, when I was still able to. It's shut at the moment, but I've got weights in it, and I still try and get in there once a week and do some form of weightlifting because I think it's vital for running and for longevity. Like I say, I'm 50 next year, and I don't want to be done yet. It's a lot more I want to achieve in running.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And then obviously there's always highs, so there's always lows. What's the biggest low for you, running wise?
Well, I'm very hard on myself when I run, and very rarely I've probably done over 200 road races, and I could probably say I've come away 5 times happy. The rest of the time is went off too fast. Should have done this. Should have done that. But I also think in some ways that helps me because it makes me, inspires me, motivates me to go again. So, for example, I'd done Dublin Marathon in 2013, felt in great shape, really thought I was going to sort of comfortably hit sub-3 and didn't, went off too quick. Didn't, I ran 3:01, something like that. And the photos, I covered my race number up as I crossed the line. I don't want to be in any pictures. I was devastated of not getting under 3 hours, and what I did is I had 2 days off, and then I started training again for London, for the next one, which happened to be London, which was when I got my PB. If I'd have got under 3 hours, I would have probably had a couple of months off or whatever, as I should have done. But because I'm hard on myself and I wasn't happy with it, and I try and explain it to my wife sometimes. She's like, you ran 3:01. Some people would be so happy. Yeah, I know, but I'm not. That's the truth of it. I'm not. That's not what I wanted. I'm not taking anything away from anybody else who trains hard and would give their right arm for a 3:01 marathon time. That's not what I train for. So I am hard on myself. I don't know if I could say I've had any really, really low moments in running. There's always positives to take out of it. I broke my foot 2 years ago out training. And that was a low moment because I was actually contemplating doing 31 marathons in December of 2019. Yeah, 2019. And I broke my foot in July. And, as soon as I broke my foot, I was out running. I missed the pothole, didn't see it. And half of my foot went in, half didn't. And it snapped my 5th metatarsal. And the first thing I thought was, well, I'm not going to be running 31 marathons in December this year, that's for sure. And that was, injuries are always, they suck, don't they?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm sitting on the sideline at the minute. I'm 2 weeks not running now, so I've got a scan hopefully next week. So,
well, also when I broke that bone, what I say to my Vivo members is, if you're injured, don't focus on what you can't do. Focus on what you can do. And usually, there's something you can do. And, when I broke my bone, 3 weeks later, I broke 8 world records on a Concept 2 ski erg machine, because the only thing I could do, I tried to row and I couldn't row, it was too painful. I tried to swim, it was too painful. But I have a ski erg and I started pulling on the handles on that, and then a couple of weeks later I thought, what's the 24-hour record for the ski erg? And I looked it up and I got it. I got 260,000 meters in 24 hours. Where I stood there with a broken foot for 24 hours. So it's a case of don't focus on what you can't do. Focus on what you can.
Brilliant. That is such a good mentality, and I love that. And I think obviously, being in this industry, the same industry as you, I get that. I've got that knowledge to sit and do that. So,
but yeah, it's easier to say than do. I know. You know, I appreciate yourself. There's nothing worse because all you want to do is be out running, and it is difficult. But you do have to try and remain positive, and know that it will pass.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree completely, and it will. I know that, and you know, same when you did your injury, it obviously stopped your 31 marathons the year before. I guess it would have been then, wouldn't it? Yeah. So, yeah, it stopped that. So, just briefly, what does running mean to you?
To me, running's everything in my life, really. Everything good that's happened in my life. You know, and that includes meeting my wife and my children, and what I do for a job now. How I walked away from 30 years working on building sites to now be paid to run with people, be paid to coach people, to be paid to be people's coaches. And you know, okay, things are different at the moment because of COVID, but like we said, we're hoping we're going to be out of this soon. But to me, when I started running, it literally changed my life. I lost a lot of weight when I first started running. I was a heavy smoker, I was a heavy drinker, stopped smoking. I still like a beer after my runs, you know, as most runners do. But yeah, you know, and I lost a lot of weight through running, and it was probably the only thing in my life, well, the first time in my life I'd been good at anything. You know, the rest of my time I never did any good at school. I didn't sit a single exam at school. I sort of kicked out and went and worked on the building sites, as a lot of people did back in the late 80s, you know, and that's how it was. So yeah, for me, running, getting into running, having a little bit of success in running, it changed my life, and long may it continue.
Brilliant. That's awesome. And in terms of not just running, because Couch to 5K and things like that, they're really handy. They're out there. But in terms of the endurance running, the longer stuff, what would you say are your 3 main tips that you would give someone that wanted to get into that endurance running world?
Well, the first one is you need to like pain. Because that, you know, that is the long and the short of it. It comes down to really suffering, you know, and how much can you suffer and how much can you tolerate. On a serious note, I would say build into it. You know, when I done my first 100K, I treated it like a marathon and went up to about, I think, 40 miles in training, you know, and that was my last long run, my last 20 miler before you do a marathon sort of thing. So yeah, build up to it. You certainly can't. You know, I'm an ultra runner, but I don't think I could run 100K today. Maybe I could if at a very slow pace, but you know, you need to train for the events that you're training for. So if I wanted to run 100K, I need to be out doing sort of 5, 6, 7 hour runs on a weekend. So top 3 tips for me would be to build into it, to be patient, and to want to do it. Because if you don't want to do it, there's nothing going to make you go out and run for 6 or 7 hours on a Sunday when it's snowy and cold and your family's sat at home thinking, where's he gone? Why has he gone running again? You know, you've got to want to do it.
No, brilliant. Awesome, Ben. Well, thanks for coming on the show. I personally look forward to following the continued journey of your running and watching what you're doing and all the people that you're helping and inspiring. So thanks very much for coming along. Oh my word, what a really nice guy and what an inspirational person. I could have chatted to him all day about running, to be honest. We could have gone off on tangents, training, you know, the knowledge the guy has, the things that he's picked up in his life through his running journey. Unbelievable. So, you know, once again, thanks for the opportunity, Ben, for coming onto our show. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you thought it was useful. If you do, please do pass that on and send it to anyone who you think would be interested in hearing the stories that Ben has been on in his running journey. And please don't forget to give the podcast a rating as well. But for now, I hope you have a great week with your training. And I look forward to seeing you here next week where we can meet again on the Ultra Running Podcast with me, Coach Marshy.